Yo, it's Lorenzo and it's History 123. So I'm gonna tell you a compelling story, and it's from history books, and it's about the 15th century in Florence, Italy. It's about the Medicis. Have you heard of them? It's about Lorenzo de' Medici, but people call him Lorenzo the Magnificent. There's a reason for that, and you'll see. So the Medicis, they were bankers in Florence, and they own and run the banks, right? So thanks to their grandfather, Cosimo de' Medici, who was the brains of it all, he had a good and close relationship with the Pope, who was the opposite of a saint, if you know what I mean, during that time. And the Pope was like president at that time and was invested in the banks of the Medici. So it's a win-win situation. So Cosimo said, hey, I'll help you become Pope, and in return you help me with the banks, and so they ran Florence for quite some time. Interesting and cool, right? Think of it like The Godfather, but set in the 15th century Florence, Italy, right? That's interesting. And how cool is that? Now this is where it becomes really, really cool. Of course, there will always be some Cain and Abel scenario. Jealousy. So with jealousy leads to cardinal sin. So some jerk next door wanted the whole pie, or so-called rival family competing against them. So what's new, right? There's always a competitor. So Cosimo gone, a new pope sits in at the throne of Peter. The rival family ruled Florence. So the only hope, and that's where Lorenzo steps in, Lorenzo de' Medici. Can you imagine Florence at that time, the 15th century? Wow. What a world, right? The look of Florence was always changing, because thoughts were always evolving. So whoever was running it, that's when the word Renaissance steps in, because it means change. So Lorenzo wasn't just a normal banker. Okay, this is what amazes me about this guy. He had a great eye for art, and he would see Florence like, it was too gray and too dead. It just wasn't alive. It didn't have the colors. And he would walk around in the streets and, he would see all this art, these little artworks being done by these poor kids. And he saw one that painted a cherub and just in the wall. And the poor boy was only 16 years old. So Lorenzo dug it. He liked it. And he approached the kid and said, hey, come with me. You work for me now. Just paint and I'll provide you food and water and anything else you need. And Lorenzo asked the boy's name. And you know what was the 16-year-old boy's name is? You know what he said? He said, my name is Michelangelo. Interesting, right? So Lorenzo started picking up these poor kids to make art. And the kids' names were Botticelli, Leonardo da Vinci, Donatello, and all those guys. Amazing, right? So he funded all of them. So Lorenzo had an eye for what really quality and good for Florence. So Lorenzo did a huge makeover for Florence with all the statues, the famous one like David, the churches, the famous paintings, the architecture. The Florence you see now, when you go to Italy now, right now, at this very moment, it's because of Lorenzo. All the art that flourished there throughout Italy, it's because of him. It's beautiful now because of him. Did you know that? Amazing stuff, right? So this is where things get really interesting. So Lorenzo had a brother, Giuliano. They both had a hit on them by the Pope and a rival family, right? What's new? And it was a murder plot, right? During a mass where Lorenzo and his brother was attending. Two assassins with daggers. You know what it's like being stabbed by a dagger during the 15th century? Damn. So the two assassins attacked Lorenzo and his brother. Unfortunately, Giuliano, Lorenzo's brother, ended up dead. And he took a blow from the dagger in his head. And he was stabbed 19 times. It's like a Jacobean tragedy of the 15th century. British revenge tragedy. So Lorenzo got out alive and got back at those guys later on. Interesting enough, archaeologists dug up these skulls, the skulls of Lorenzo and Giuliano. In the skull of Giuliano, you can see the dagger blows in the damaged skull of Giuliano de Medici. Really amazing stuff. It's a cool story, right? It's a story of love and revenge and the murder plot. It's just a compelling story, all in all. Stories of 15th century Florence, the Medicis, Lorenzo the Magnificent. Such great stories, man. So yeah, that's it for today on History 123. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys.